Hi there, Job Talk people. I'm your host for today, Thabo Mazambani, and welcome to our first ever segment of How Do You Get There. Today, I'll be interviewing someone very close to my heart in the studio, who is an accomplished businessman and investor, whom also happens to be my father, Washington Mazambani. Hello, Washington. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good myself. Thank you very much.
That's
So,
good.
our first question for you today is, when did you start your own business, and what led you to creating it?
Okay. Thank you very much for the beautiful introduction. And life is so funny because I can't believe that I'm sitting next to you, interviewing me, asking me all these difficult questions. Because not long ago were you a little child, so it's just showing how old we're getting. But that's life anyway. And thanks for inviting me to your beautiful show, Drop Talk, which I look forward to be part of. Anyway, just going to your question, when did I start business? So I would start by saying I started business, I guess, in calling it business when I was very, very young. I had always had an entrepreneurial mind. Ever since I think I was about 10 or 12 years old. I've got some stories that I'll share with you later on where I would be looking for some pocket money and I would be figuring out on how to get that pocket money. I would save the little pennies that my parents would give me for lunch at school. And then I'll go and buy things and sell them. So I've always had this, business mind of buying and selling. And basically, fast forward to, I guess, many, many years later, I started the business called Wealth Age, which basically is a financial planning firm. And that started back in 2007. And we're sort of assisting clients by providing financial advice. And the other part of your question is why did I start that business?
Mm.
Yes. So just a little bit about, again, how it started is I was working for one of the big banks and I did some different roles for that bank for about 4 years. But the bigger chunk of that, I was actually a financial advisor. So I needed to, I guess, grow out of that environment. And I sort of thought that, yes, that'd be a good thing for me to start my own practice, and that led me to that.
That's very interesting indeed, like how the build up to that stage in life. So, what was you talk about the entrepreneur mindset. So, at the time of creating your business, what mindset were you going from being employed to self employed?
Yeah, so I guess looking at or remembering my days at the bank, I was working in an environment where I felt that I was not really performing what I needed to perform to my best capacity, because it was an environment where I guess the bank was pushing for us to do more of selling their products. And in my own opinion, I wasn't really delivering good quality service to my clients. So I felt I needed to sort of get out of that environment and deliver what I thought was really the best advice, where I was not pushing any products, but I had my clients at heart. So that was really, a big motivation of me to step out and have that particular mindset that I needed to genuinely assist my clients in delivering what I felt was a good service, because I've always believed that success comes in with the more people that you help, that you genuinely help, and that has always been my belief.
Very interesting how your ethics also came into your success and how you perceive your actual work. So, going into a different sector of your life, I know that you're an accomplished businessman, but you're also a property investor. So you have a number of properties now, and I was wondering, how did you purchase your first investment property?
Thank you for the question. So just to go straight to the point there, the first property that my wife and I purchased was back in 2006. And funny enough, what brought that motivation to purchase that property was that we were blessed by God that my wife was pregnant at that time, and we made ourselves, or we promised ourselves, that we were not gonna have a child whilst we are still renting. That was our personal belief. Not that there's anything wrong about renting, but we told ourselves that we needed to make sure that by the time we have our first child, we were gonna be living in our own home. So back then we really saved hard. We worked hard and we saved some money. And before God blessed us with our first child, we made sure that we bought our first property. So it was this need of knowing that you go for something by setting yourself goals, and sometimes you need to be a little bit uncomfortable for you to achieve that particular goal that you need to achieve.
So you have a number of investment properties, but how have you accumulated more over time?
So every day is a learning curve, it's particularly in the environment or in the space of investments. I must admit that in my own experience, the most difficult or the hardest property that I've ever purchased was my own first home, because we had to use our hard-earned savings. But fast forward over the years, just to answer your question, I guess as you have your own property, if you buy right, hopefully that property goes up in value, and you obviously have a mortgage from the bank, and what you'll be creating between the mortgage that you're paying off and the value of the house going up is what is called equity, or your home equity. And what we've managed to tap into that equity to actually accumulate more properties that we have now achieved to have quite a sizable portfolio. So it's a matter of having good discipline, but making sure that you are buying right, you are buying in good areas, and that you just have to believe in your goals. So goal setting is a very, very important or integral part of you achieving these. And with all that, I must say focus is also very, very important as well. So yeah.
So that's very interesting how you have kind of building steps to where you are. But when talking about your properties and your life as a property investor, you talk about motivation, and your main motivation for your first property was a child. So how do you deal with a lack of motivation?
That's a good question. Look, every person goes through highs and lows, ups and downs. We're all human beings. And it's one of, human challenges, including myself. I have those challenges as well, where sometimes, you just feel like, I'm not as motivated as I was, a few months or a few years ago. But I guess to overcome that, first of all, I always remind myself of the core values that I've always have. And those core values is where I ask myself, why did I do what I needed to do in the first place? So I'm always asking myself and coming up with the answers of those core values. That's number one. But number two, and most importantly, I have a habit of setting goals. I've got short-term goals, I've got medium-term goals, and I have long-term goals. So sometimes when you're really struggling with motivation, it's just a matter of revisiting those goals and sort of saying, all right, what's the bigger picture? What do I need to do? And that has helped me to get up every morning, work hard, and find new ways of developing myself, both in business, in personal finances, and other areas of my life as well, as a family man.
Yeah. So dealing with a lack of motivation is one thing, but do you say that with that lack of motivation when you get motivation, do you stay motivated, or how do you stay motivated, basically?
Look, there are a number of ways that sort of assist us, and motivation is more like food. So the quality of your well-being depends on what you're feeding it. So just to stay on top of things, I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of motivational speakers that share their views on different aspects of life, because I believe that you also got to feed the brain as well. And yeah, that's where how I sort of stay motivated by just making sure that I'm surrounding myself with the right people, which sometimes just a circle of friends that I hang around with, that they are motivated people, because when they are motivated, then they'll give you a reason to better yourself as well.
That's very interesting how you kind of control your environment and who you hang around with to create a better atmosphere for you, and you can motivate yourself more doing that. So thank you for your amazing responses. We at Job Talk really appreciate you being able to come in and give us these amazing answers.
Sure.
And to you out there, he is a great accomplished businessman and property investor, and he's an example for not only me but all of us as Job Talk people to be able to go after our goals, as he stated, and really make our lives great, and really work towards the goal of Job Talk, which is to seek and better understanding of our world. So I hope you enjoyed that segment with our amazing guest, Washington, for our first ever episode of How Did You Get Here?
Thanks for having me. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you for coming in.
Cheers.